Learning how to make film is very easy. Learning what to make films about is very hard. George Lucas. This is how I got into YouTube. I wanted to be a film producer. I was going to go from West Virginia to Hollywood and make a name for myself. I'm not looking directly at the camera because I actually have a script right next to the camera here. So that way I do this not in 6 hours. And when I graduated high school, the plan was for me to go to Hollywood and make a name for myself. That was the big picture, naive, young version of myself kind of dream that I had. And I had a number of options open for me, and all of them required a shit ton of money that our family did not have. Star Wars: A New Hope, my favorite movie of all time. I watched it on VHS when I was a little kid with my parents, and it blew me away, and I instantly fell in love with it. I loved the video games. I loved the extended canon, all the fiction, comic books, whatever. I was a huge Star Wars nerd. Still am, if not for Disney. Thanks, Disney. Because film school is fucking expensive, and I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to be an engineer. I wanted to make it as an artist, not just as an artist, but also as a business person. I wanted to take the two ends of the yin and yang, right, and kind of like put those two together. Fishing is an analogy I use a lot to describe working on YouTube because you can do everything right on YouTube. You can have the right tags, have a good thumbnail, have a good title, have good content, and it won't get picked up by the algorithm sometimes for a wide number of reasons. Kind of like how when you go out fishing and you can do everything right. You have the bait, good technique, it's the perfect season, but there's no fish. And for some reason, you just don't catch a damn thing. And that's why it's called fishing and not catching. But sometimes you can fish for hours and hours and hours, making World of Warships content, making War Thunder content, not catching anything. And if you're looking for a king salmon off of the coast of Kodiak, Alaska, you can catch it in 5 hours, or you can catch it in 5 minutes. And you have no way of knowing until you catch one. Well, I made a video talking about every operator in the game, following all the tactics that I was taught, both from my own online research and my classes, and I went out of my way to try and do the YouTube thing right. Making lots and lots of World of Warships content was clearly not working out. I was an art student for a time. I eventually switched to strategic communication and marketing, more of a focus on that. I was commuting 30 minutes to my school, lots of snow, like a lot. I was in 2 plays. I did musical theater. I hung out with the stoner kids who were cool and fun to hang out with, but all of them dropped out of school by the time I finished my freshman year for reasons I'm sure that you can fill in the blank. But eventually, like I said, all my friends dropped out, the ones that I had, and I bitched about something political on Facebook one day, and someone who became one of my best friends eventually hit me up and said we should start a politics show. And we didn't really follow through with that, but me and a friend of mine hung out at his apartment in town, and then eventually more dudes would come through. And then these things called girls would come through as well. I know. Strange. But then I learned all these guys were in the same organization, and they called it a fraternity. And I was like, if I can get in this organization, then I can hang out with these guys. And then these guys hang out with the girls, which means I get to hang out with the girls. It was a pretty easy decision for me to make. And eventually, when I became a part of the fraternity, I learned that there was a lot more in being involved in Greek life. I got a community of people to back me up whenever I needed it, and I got to learn a lot about how to be an adult in modern America. Eventually, I went through with it, and I joined Theta Xi. I introduced my buddies to New York City, where on a previous trip with my great friends, the art students, they literally left me on my own. At midnight in the middle of New York City by myself with a dead phone. I had to find my way back to Soho by myself. Never been in a city as big as New York before. I think they thought that I was a Trump supporter because I made a Hillary Clinton joke. Like dead ass, I think that's actually what happened. They didn't think it was funny. We got separated on the metro by one of our friends the second time I went up there. with my fraternity brothers, and that was funny. The party we were going to was beach-themed, but we neglected to bring appropriate clothes. But I swam as a workout pretty often, so I had swim trunks in my car. I put on those with those swim trunks with the hiking boots and the swimming goggles, and I became Hans, the German tourist. Hello, my name is Hans. I love American house parties and American hip-hop music. I come back from that big party up in Hoboken, and I feel great. I just uploaded How to Play Every Operator. That blew up. The second video right after that also blew up. I felt really good. You know, I moved into town for the first time on my own with a roommate, and then I got hacked. And the hacking has details I'd rather not go into, but basically I was an idiot, and I thought I got an email from Google, so I put my information in. It turns out it wasn't Google. I got the hacking thing figured out, but I stopped uploading YouTube videos for a while because I was juggling YouTube, this whole case with the hacking, classes, all of this stuff at the same time. But eventually, after I got it figured out, we were having fun, so I didn't really think anything of it. And I had made a yearly thing of going to Cape Hatteras with a friend of mine from the fraternity who's also a mod in my Discord, and we got a message in our fraternity chat that the president was stepping down for personal reasons, and he told me that I would probably have to run, and I thought that he was being paranoid. I went for beers with some of the older fucks, the alumni, and they said, hey, we want you to run. We want you to run for active chapter president. And I didn't think that I was going to win. We were on our last legs. The fraternity was low on members, very low. If we didn't get accredited this coming year, we were going to be on probation, which is a polite way of saying we were fucked. And I had one job. That was to get the chapter accredited. And don't fuck it up. And I had to take, eventually, a bus to St. Louis from West Virginia. Don't ask why. For another fraternity thing. It was a big conference, like frat camp. We went from Maryland to PA to Indy, and my buddy, who's going with me, he gets sick. He gets really, really bad motion sickness. And if you've never had motion sickness before, it's like your insides are gonna end up on your outsides, but you're gonna like pass out. It's not fun. We got a ticket for another bus leaving the next day. Hey, can we get on? And he's like, you'll get on when you get on. And I'm like, okay. So we wait. Hey man, can we get on the bus? No. Okay. We wait. There's a 8 months pregnant lady, a Chinese exchange student, also with us. They're confused as well. We don't know what's going on. We're still told, wait. And then the bus backs out and leaves. And I go to the guy and I'm like, hey, was that our bus to St. Louis? And he's like, that bus is gone. And I was just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. So we go up to the ticket counter and we raise a big stink about it. And it's not just me and my buddy, right? It's me, the pregnant lady, and the Chinese exchange student all got screwed over by this. So it's not just me being an idiot. He's like, y'all missed the bus? And I was like, no, the bus missed us, Gus. So we get another ticket. The bus is delayed. 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Finally, 10 p.m. The bus arrives. We leave. We get to St. Louis at 4 a.m. Terrible. I have a great fraternity conference otherwise, though, with a dodgeball tournament. We won. I come back. I'm ready to kick some ass. Let's get this shit done. Lots of arguing. Lots of meetings with strong-willed people. I want to zig instead of zag. We get into fights. We get into arguments. Eventually, we got an email. They missed our paperwork. So I got to sort out all the paperwork that they didn't look at because, of course I do. We finally get accredited. And I'm like, holy shit, we did it. One more semester of this, being fraternity president, and I can work on my capstone, my senior year project. And that was a bit hectic. Eventually, I got my capstone done, and I had a job lined up. I was going to be Greg, United States Navy. I gave up on the film director thing after going out to LA and getting a tour of the Warner Brothers studio. I saw Conan O'Brien eat a sandwich. So that was cool. I still want to get my pilot's license one day, however long that takes. So I take my ASVAB, I run, I work out, I do all the stuff. I'm feeling really good about it. This is what I want to do. I got a on my ASVAB. And, but I'm going to try to take the officer exam too. And they're like, okay, take the officer exam. I take the officer exam. I fail bad. The pilot's portion is very hard. Okay. DCS World isn't going to teach you shit. And I said, you know, I'm going to get a degree. I can go in at a higher pay rate and take the officer stuff, the cross training, at a later time. You know, I'll try to make a career out of it. This is what I want to do. I also had a scar from my appendix getting taken out in middle school, and they wanted to know what that was about. I didn't admit anything that happened in my life, but I gave them all the deets, obviously, on my appendix stuff, and Max was like, what's up with the Billy Rubin count in this documentation you gave us? And I was like, I had no idea what Billy Rubin? But we'll keep you in the pipeline. And I stay in the pipeline for months and months and months, nothing. And eventually it takes so long that I have to refill my application that I filled out when I went into the recruiter's office. And I was about to graduate and I needed a fucking job. So I said, you know what, guys, I'm good. Thanks for the memories. What I really wanted to say was, fuck this. This was a massive waste of time. And I felt washed up, out of my element, pissed off, and I was really, really bummed out about it. And then 1 year later, the C word happens, and a Navy captain gets fired for doing the right thing. So who knows where I'd been if I'd kept going down that path, you know? I had no job prospects. The Siege community was pissing me off. I'd go into games and constantly run into assholes who recognize me and try to play the game of their lives. Hard stuck plat free. Why are you making videos? All this shit. And, you know, I didn't really choose this, really, right? Like, as much as when I went fishing, I didn't choose for this kind of fish to catch. I put all sorts of lines in, and one of them bit. And it was the biggest fish I caught. Now, I'm supposed to have credibility. I'm supposed to prove myself to hundreds of thousands of people that what I'm saying has some kind of competitive merit when I've never claimed to be in that kind of environment, despite my usage of examples from competitive players, as if commentators or analysts or talk show guys who don't currently play football or currently play basketball or baseball or whatever, like they can't talk about it or dissect it because they're not professional players. It's just crazy fucking logic that only happens in the esports community. And I was just like learning what the esports community was like, and it was such a culture shock to me, and it pissed me off putting so much effort into this, and I was still getting shit from people that I ran into in game, not in my comments. I'd have really positive and great, awesome people in my comments, and I was very grateful for that, but I wasn't satisfied. I needed to take a break. So I spent that summer trying to find myself. My mom had connects in San Francisco for her job, and she gave me an invitation to come along with her for a few days afterwards. We'd take another plane to Alaska where we had some family friend. I got a Sony Alpha 6000 mirrorless camera, and I took lots and lots of pictures. We went in the middle of a heat wave, but San Francisco was a breezy 60 degrees in the time that we were there. And Alaska, a place that's cold and rainy all the time, it was bright and sunny and 70 degrees just about the whole week. Unprecedented to the kind of people who were hosting us. And I learned a lot about bears, salmon, and the great outdoors. I also caught lots and lots of fish. I caught the biggest fish I've ever caught. It was a massive goddamn halibut. But I went kayaking for the first time. We did a lot of hiking. I went shooting. I also did a lot of skeet shooting, which is my favorite personally. And I like to think I'm pretty good at it. Brought back all the fish with us on Alaska Airlines in insulated boxes to keep them frozen, and we ate fresh Alaskan fish for months. I went on another Cape Hatteras trip too. I didn't catch a lot of fish that time, and that further specified to me my analogy about YouTube is that you can do everything right and sometimes it doesn't work out. All I managed to catch that time were a couple of lizard fish, which are good for nothing really. And it was equivalent exchange, right? From the really, really good trip that I had. But I had fun being out in the boat, and I took lots of pictures. And the beach food, guys usually complain about beach food, right? But it's not like that on Cape Hatteras. It's some of the best you'll ever have. I came back from my trip, and I took a job offer with a company selling cable. I eventually learned it was a door-to-door sales job after the interview process. The guy had a white BMW parked outside, no changing rooms in the office. We had to change into our Verizon clothes in the Popeyes bathroom. There was no fridge. to keep pack lunch. I wasn't making shit. Minus the toll road costs on interstate traffic just to get out there. We sold cable in a Spanish-speaking neighborhood. I don't know Spanish, and I had to stand there smiling while my supervisor, who did know Spanish, talked to the potential customer, and I tried to not look like a cop, which was very difficult. However, my supervisor did teach me a couple of things. He taught me how to use Tinder, and I got 2 Tinder dates. So I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what to do. I said, okay, this is getting annoying, so I'm just gonna bust my ass on this YouTube thing and get as much fucking money as I can, and I'm moving out. And New Year's rolled around, and me and my buddies made a resolution to get a place by the spring, because we were all stuck at our parents after coming out of college, and we had all this shit lined up, and it didn't work out, and we were just like, you know what? We're gonna take a gamble. We're gonna take the money that we have and try to get a place and just make it fucking work. And then the thing happened. The thing in March. And I was like, all right, I'll just catch up on my operator how-tos. And now I'm at 250K. I grew up on a lot of old school music, which is part of the reason I probably don't relate to a lot of this. I played in a jazz band. I did jazz vocals in high school. My dad has tons of old jazz records. A lot of those records are samples in old school hip hop tracks. And that sort of thing isn't as predominant in the industry anymore. Sometimes you get somebody who comes along and piques my interest. When I got to college, that guy was Logic, and of course, Greg would be a Logic fan. Logic was getting popular around the time that my YouTube channel was starting to do well, and I felt a connection with this dude's music about hustling and working hard. And sometimes you get in your head about it a little bit too much, but you don't really know how to express it to other people because maybe it's not their business. Maybe they'll just judge you for it. Sometimes you get an artist that you just listen to all their shit back to back to back and it just clicks. And then he made an album basically kind of complaining about his haters more, and it was all right. And then he and his wife broke up, who he talked about on his last album a lot, and on the album before that, and who was on the cover of the album that was released right before he announced that they broke up. And then he shaved his head for no reason, and he looked like an alien. And I felt like I was watching this dude just like implode. And it was really weird because I had related myself in this career path that I took to this guy's work. And it was just disappointing to watch, right? And then he put out an album where he just, I don't know what the fuck that was. And then he just, oh no. Ooh, no. And my greatest fear, I'm gonna get personal with y'all. My greatest fear is getting so wrapped up in what I do and get so focused on the minutia that I end up losing sight of the bigger picture, and I lose sight of what makes my content appeal to people. My biggest fear is ending up like one of my biggest role models. I'm gonna drive this boat the way that I want to, but I'll do my best to make content that helps you learn something that you can take into your daily life, because these games are complicated, but not as complicated as sweaty people would like you to think. And there are lots of sweaty people out there who are very insecure and only have these games. So that's where a lot of this toxicity and tribalism comes from in competitive gaming, because you can be good at these games. I assure you, you can. For some people, it's just going to take time and a little bit of hard work. I'm not saying that all of you are going to, not everyone is going to Pro League. Not everyone's going to be Michael Jordan. But you can get fundamentals down and play better than the average person with enough practice. And that's what my channel is all about. Thank you all so much for watching. Deuces.